Hello, hello. After the coffee break, we have 2 more sessions to go. And I see that the room is filling up, and I don't blame you because now we are going to get into the topic of AI, also from a practical perspective. But here this time, it's all going to be about how companies are leveraging AI, right? I mean, I personally despise the current narrative in the media with all my heart. How many people were laid off because of AI? AI will steal your job. You're going to lose your job to AI. I mean, this creates a situation. It creates a fear narrative. It's helping no one. And it only, unfortunately, shows how inefficiently some of the companies are implementing AI in my eyes, because I'm sure that you've heard stories when they let go the entire department, implemented AI agents, and then rehired the people because the AI agents didn't do a good job. I mean, it's ridiculous. What can I say? This is the reason why. Let's talk about how to do this right. And this is our next session. We have a guest whose topic today is AI after the hype, how roles and organizations are changing today. Julien Look, welcome to the stage.
Hello. Hey guys, so who's fearing for their jobs to be replaced by AI? Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, you seem to be confident. I like that. So I want to prove to you guys today, maybe I don't have to do that anymore because you seem to be well established in AI workflows, but I want to prove to you that there's a lot to do past adopting AI tools, because, yeah, organizations are really struggling to get AI implemented at large scale. And there's some shocking numbers that even figured out for myself, and I would like to show you some examples and what are real success stories and how you can implement them for yourself and for your projects. Is the text big enough for you guys? Is that okay? Yeah, anyway, so I want to showcase you 2 numbers at the start. The 5% is the number of projects that are actually getting a positive outcome. We are seeing capturing a real value measured in EBIT, and there's 95% of projects that are just failing in between. There's multiple reasons why. And the other number, on the contrary, is that we actually have 88% of people using AI inside their organization, right? Are we at 100% here? 100% adoption? More or less? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, I guess everybody has heard about ChatGPT, and there's more tools that we're using, transcriptions, design tools, you name it. There's a tool for everybody nowadays, and this is great. But yeah, there's a gap to close. So how do we get from the tools that everybody's using into making organizations actually, adopting a workflow that is replicating their processes? We just heard that companies are rehiring people because that just hasn't happened, and most projects, they fail at POC stage. Yeah, so when we talk about these 5%, we are going through 3 different layers. And at the top, we've got 88% that I just talked about. Most of them is actually adoption of shadow AI, which is also a big concern for companies, because they want to make people use what the company is providing to them, right? But it's not happening because there's, again, reasons. We're going to dive into this in a bit. Companies usually start by redesigning workflows. The number is already shockingly low, that workflows are only making it to the 21% success mark. And then big organizational model changes are, again, only happening at 5%. Damn it. Okay, no, I want to ask you a question. Okay, so who thinks the biggest problem of this AI adoption is a technological problem? Raise your hand. Oh, really? Okay, all right. Who thinks it's a budget problem? Okay, who thinks the biggest problem is about change management? Guys, like, you can come to the stage already. All right, yeah. So there's a few things. It's like usually multiple answers, but yeah, change management is the biggest problem. One thing that I want to talk about at first is complexity and why this complexity makes adoption stagger. This is an example from Siemens. They've been trying to make this successful, but they saw that people are just not trusting the output. Just like from a technological perspective, if we're talking about adopting AI agents into a company, we're talking about bringing expertise at multiple steps, like processes, right, into a technology. Following these steps, there will be hallucinations. There will be interpretations of data of the foundation model that might not fully align with what the people in the organization are used to, and that creates mistrust, and essentially leading to a failure of adoption. So you need to make people aware of the limitations and also the possibilities of what your agent can do. And you need to make it transparent. You need to make the output traceable, right? Like what is happening at each step, and make people agreeable with these processes. And when it comes to being agreeable with a process, you'll need to get people also involved in the creation process, right? Which is, one part about the change management aspects that I want to talk about with you guys. Now we are talking. Now we are looking at a problem that comes from the very top. We've got high ambitions, but no clear direction. And that usually stems also from the amount of involvement from C-level, which uniquely for Germany only sits at 2%. In the US, it's usually higher. And we've got a very, very big gap in small, medium-sized companies in Germany, especially. They're notorious for not being very adapt to technology, and the same goes to AI transformation projects. I gotta say, from one personal example, that one client in manufacturing of mine is using Claude to build their own tools in the company. Still fragmented, but yeah, we've got some outliers there. There's again back to the leadership gap, right? They have the expectations to drive a project or to drive a transformation project within 6 months, maybe a bit longer. But since this is also of cultural nature, we will usually look at a transformation happening within years. I would personally say for myself that's true. I would also assume that everyone else who has been using AI in their workflows would also not claim that they're done with their transformation yet, right? Like these things need to constantly improve. You need to figure out what works, what doesn't. Yeah. So next time you're going to pitch a transformation project to your client, aim for a retention contract that goes for 5 years or so. So once we are done aligning with leadership and we've got the budget allocated, the next people that need to get involved in enterprises are usually the middle management, the ones that are communicating the vision to a practical approach for the people on the ground who will actually use these tools in the end. Only 23% feel adequately prepared for this. And then on the other side sits C-suite and says, oh, we need to get this done within 18 months max. So there's ambition at the top. There's not enough preparation for this to happen. Fair enough. We have got a relatively new technology. And again, like these processes in an organization are complex. You need to get everybody involved. And the question, how much you need to get people involved, is also not so clean cut. And this is something I would actually like one of the audience to talk about more, because we've got people sitting here that have decades of experiences. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to talk about this particular topic with one of them. I would like Antje to speak about this in a second. What I learned from our interview is that there needs to be a process in this. When you drive change management as a consultant for a company, you start from the top. You get the mandate, but then you immediately go to, or like right after you go to the executioners and get them involved in the process. You ask them, okay, so this is how you work. So how would you imagine this being aided by AI first work? Getting them physically involved is one part of the story. Creating emotional investment is another. So there's a method called ADKAR. I'm familiar with the first 2 letters now, but not of the remaining 3 ones. So we've got awareness and desire that needs to be raised in an organization, especially at the bottom part before you even start introducing a technical solution. One of the biggest pet peeves that I do as a software engineer. I always like introducing technical solutions. So now we've got people that really want to have AI in their organization. Great. Okay, so who wants to volunteer for this? You get some AI champions in place. But how many of them is good? So Antje claims that 10 people is good. 150 is a bit too much. But why is that? I want to ask you this right now. Do you want to get up real quick?
Why 10 people works and 20, 50, 100 or 150 don't work? Studies show that only very small groups, up to 5 people, really work effectively. So the discussion are open and the responsibility for that, what they are doing, is high. And if the group gets larger, the participants become more and more passive, and the management has more and more effort with the discussions, with the management of discussions. So if you have a champions group about 150, you have a lot of passive participants and a row of people who creates resistance from within. They really don't want to have the transition. And that's why for effectively, from the point of effectiveness, it's the best way to take only 5, but 5 is too less for an AA transformation. So in a transformation, you need diversity. So that's why I would recommend to take 7 to 10 people per group. And if you have a large company, you build local small groups and one center of excellence. So that's my point of view.
Give it away for Antje, guys. Thank you. Okay, so we got some Q&A later, and you want to come to the stage, right? And then we can answer some questions together, right? Yeah, I think there's a lot of expertise to drive from this community. I think I forgot to mention this at the start. Like, yeah, I want to act as the facilitator here, and yeah, really great to like hear opinions from everyone. These slides also have been created by many people from the conference, right? So just flagging that. Thank you again. Okay, so we talked a lot about the blame game. Where are the initiatives actually failing? I haven't told you yet how they're succeeding. Maybe like indirectly, but I want to give you some success stories. Like, what are these 5% actually doing right? Before that, I would actually like to talk about the roles and how they are transforming from within the company. And I think this is something that is relatable to everyone. We work very, very differently than how we used to 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And yeah, I want to share some example from something that is pretty familiar for me as a software engineer, and maybe like for many in this room as well. So I would definitely argue that the biggest productivity boost gained is through coding with AI. We are not only seeing developers coding nowadays, that barrier is just not existing anymore. This number says that most of the people who are coding are, coding with AI coding tools, fair enough, are actually people that have no coding background. So yeah, we've got more than double the amount of like people building apps nowadays compared to before AI. Doesn't really mean that software engineers need to fear for their jobs. Software engineers are also evolving. They're there's this famous quote of the famous term of the 10x developer. Nowadays we're talking about 100x developers. Like shipping features has become so easy. Orchestrating entire systems has also become relatively easy with the help of AI tools. And this is exactly where software developers are positioning themselves nowadays. They are basically driving the technical vision. They are leading the whole team to what can be done, what cannot be done. And they're getting help from AI coding tools to be faster in their implementation and their decision-making process. Other people can now write code too. Arguably, you would need to review this kind of stuff. I'm seeing this in teams that I'm working in right now. Everyone is involved with their specific expertise. PMs have more expertise for the product, therefore shipping features that are very close to the end user, or like to the end user's perspective. Designers are shipping UI, which makes sense. Wireframes are evolving into usable and clickable apps that can be tested and validated. QA is coding too. Team sizes are shrinking. That is very true, because you don't need a 10 people size team to build SaaS products anymore. Three people might be enough. Oh yeah, at the end of the day, like I showcased at the beginning, there is so much to do. So even if teams are getting smaller, we are moving at a way faster pace, and organizations are still struggling to drive this whole adoption. So yeah, I think like there will be only more work created in the future for people in our position. Now to the success stories. I would actually like to shed light on some success stories from European companies, because usually the numbers that we get in the US they are a bit more shiny. Here we've got Bosch showing the biggest migration of their legacy ERP systems happening ever. What they did is exactly what we've been just discussing. They would first align with everyone what needs to be done. Then they would decide to upskill their whole developer team and consultants how to use AI tools and what kind of processes they want to get automated. And then they would get into implementation phase and clean up their core system that would affect the whole organization. After they have been doing this, they would start defining intelligence layers that are driven with Gen AI. Driven with Gen AI. Yeah, and you see the numbers here. Developers specifically have 20% productivity boost gain from that. Features are shipped way faster, and this whole legacy monster has been dealt with in a relatively short amount of time. So this is an example that shows that with the right approach, everyone in the organization agrees with the transformation, ends up being happier with the added benefit in productivity, and potentially also the modernized product that is resulting from that. Because obviously, we like seeing results that are working for people. Here's one example from a personal project. It's from a global consultancy that is doing communication strategy. Not really relevant. I'm being part of the tech team there. And as I showed in one of the previous slides, we've got people involved in all of the processes with the help of AI. But how does that actually work on the organizational level? Like, how do we structure ourselves to ship the product? The method that we're following is called strategy as protocol. So you're once defining the strategy or you're updating the strategy, you document it somewhere. We're using Notion here or Asana. And everyone is adhering to the documentation and will contribute each on their own responsibility in at different times. Yeah. But first off, the alignment needs to happen. The documentation needs to be there. AI needs to be able to access that documentation. Still needs to be human readable. But yeah, so this is one of the big takeaways that writing the documentation is key to every process that comes after. I've got one question, not for now, but for the end. I would like you to think about this. Now that you're seeing this workflow organization chart, I would say, what can be done differently? How can this further evolve? I would really like to hear from you guys. So if you got some ideas, let me know. I pressed the wrong button. Is this still okay? Yeah, good. All right, so we're already at the end. I want to summarize about all of the things that we discussed in this short amount of time. In order to drive transformation, you need to start with the approval from the C-level, and it also needs to be owned by the C-level, not only by IT. And then you need to get the process being built up from bottom up, right? You start with the workflow definition, the alignment, before you actually go into implementation. This is the example from Bosch. And you have the living protocol at the center. Transformation is a cultural change, and it's not done within one project. You seem to agree with these points. Okay, so next time you have a transformation project to pitch to a company, these are the 3 questions I would suggest you to use. First off, who owns this? Is it executive level? No. Might want to rethink that one. Yeah, what would success look like in 90 days? Though 90 days is a little bit short. You could start with 90 days at the POC stage, right? I think the interesting question comes, how does it look like in 1 year or so? Might help you getting that retention contract. Yeah, and what do you actually want to change? Like, we want AI. Okay, great. What kind of bottlenecks are we trying to solve? So yeah, that's the 3 ones. Some time. Okay. One thing that actually helped me in projects is to outline a process map with the leadership and basically getting it visualized, right? Once that process map is there, people usually get a better understanding of what really needs to get done. All right, we're at the end. Honorable mentions that helped. There's way more people that contributed to this, but I had to submit these slides at a certain point, so I couldn't put all of the names there. Yeah, if you have questions now, we've got 5 more minutes.
Don't leave just yet, okay? I'm coming up. All right. First of all, I want to thank you personally for bringing so much common sense into AI implementation, Because what drives me crazy, besides what I've said before the session started, is that everyone wants to do AI. Everyone wants to do AI, but very few, if you ask them the details, they know what they want, where they will use it, how they will measure, whether it's even working. So it's a mess. But AI is the shiny new toy, isn't it? So let's do it with common sense. So thanks for that. Now, 2 questions came in from our audience, and one of them refers to what I've just said, literally. So, how do you deal with customers who want AI even when their use cases are clearly nonsensical? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make realistic expectations, right? This is exactly like where you need to figure out with C-level what's possible.
Like, what do they want, right? Like,
Yeah, what do
what's
they
the
want?
end goal? I can imagine. Maybe you just tell them, leave it. Would you do that? Or would you still get into it?
No, I would not. I would not. I would not shy away from a challenging client.
Maybe some diplomacy, you know.
I mean, I would definitely give some suggestion from the amount of understanding that I have from their requirements, and say, okay, this is what we can realistically do. This is what needs to be done in order to make this successful. This is how it would look like after a POC stage. And yeah, I guess it's like, what do we do as consultants, right? We are also kind of advising people to make them understand what they really want. With limited knowledge on the organization, this is a little bit hard, admittedly. Yeah, so this is why I would go for something less committal at the start, and then make sure that we learn from each other in the process. Yeah.
Okay. And so you've already mentioned that one of the most important things, and you have confirmed, is change management for a successful AI implementation, right? And stakeholder leadership buy-in. But you can't do this alone. You do it alone, it's not going to work. Not that I know from experience. But how do you identify the right AI champions in the company?
Definitely not the question for me to answer. Antje, do you want to give it a go?
Please.
That's a really, really good question. So, at first, the most important thing is that it's based or that it's voluntary based. So, because not everybody who wants to be an AI champion supports the AI transformation, it is the best that when if the transformation management pre-select candidates before. So you should pre-select candidates and ask after this in the second step, who wants? Do you want to go with us? Yes. So.
All right, thank you. I hope that responds to the question. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, I'll walk right down 1 second so that everyone can hear you.
For this transformation, do you formally assess the organizational culture before diving into the work? And if you do, how do you do it? What's your formal model, or what's your process?
So I do have a process, but it's definitely not the best, because at the end of the day, I'm a software engineer, right? So there's still a lot for me to learn. What I would do is exactly like this process assessment. I would like to, by the way, this is also something you can sell. You can you can offer workshops for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days a week, maybe. And you get yourself and very skilled partners on site and talk to everybody important from top to bottom. And you make sure you understand the process as well as possible. Now, I would personally say I haven't done this in big organizations. I've done this in SMEs, and there it's way more. I mean, it's easier to do it when there's less people working it, right? Again, like Antje has way more experience in that. What I can say from the enterprise clients that I've been working with, what helps is to focus on one practice area, the one that arguably is the best bottleneck for them. So you're starting with a micro project in that sense, right? And then see the potential if that micro project can be expanded into different divisions. Yeah. Why I believe this helps? It comes back to trickling down a problem into a smaller practice group. Again, like it's about the people that need to agree with the transformation, right? Way over time, I see it right now. So if you have 20 people that you want to transform, it's easier to do this yourself or within a smaller team, right? Yeah, so I guess start there.
All right. Thank you for all of these practical insights, how to do it right. I think that there are tons of takeaways. If you would like to approach him behind the scenes, I think you still will stay here for a moment, as well as your colleague. Thank you so much for sharing all of these valuable tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.